You are tuned to Iri-e-learning, and I am your host, Teacher. In this periodic table and periodicity lesson, we will examine the reactions of Group 2 elements. Check the description box for links to all the videos related to this unit. By the end of this lesson, we should be able to describe reactions of Group 2 elements. Before we delve into the reactions of the Group 2 elements, let us recall or review that reactivity increases down Group 2. That is, as the atoms get larger going down Group 2, they lose their outer electrons more readily due to shielding. So the larger Group 2 elements are more reactive. The first reaction we will examine is the reaction between the alkaline earth metals, or the Group 2 elements, with water. When any of the Group 2 metals to the left of our screen, whether it's beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, or barium, react with water, we produce the metal hydroxide and hydrogen. For the products, the metal hydroxide has the general formula M open brackets OH close brackets 2, where M can be substituted with the symbol of the Group 2 element that's reacting with water, and OH is the symbol for hydroxide. When a Group 2 metal reacts with water, it bonds with 2 hydroxide ions. And the chemical formula for hydrogen is H2. Keep in mind that reactivity of the Group 2 metals increases down the group. Therefore, the metals react with water at an increasing rate descending the group. Before proceeding with this lesson, ensure that you have reviewed the lessons on writing chemical formulae and writing balanced chemical equations. First, we will examine the reaction of magnesium with water. Magnesium reacts very slowly with water to produce magnesium hydroxide precipitate or solid and hydrogen gas. If you look to the animation on the right of the screen, you'll notice the formation of colorless bubbles of hydrogen gas that are slowly released. Since the reaction is very slow, it will take a very long time before the white precipitate of magnesium hydroxide is formed. For the chemical equation, magnesium Mg in the solid state reacts with water H2O in the liquid state to produce the white precipitate of magnesium hydroxide MgOH2 and hydrogen gas H2. The chemical equation is balanced by putting the number 2 in front of the formula of water. Therefore, we now have equal numbers of each atom on either side of the equation. So looking at it, we see that there's 1 magnesium on the left and there's only 1 magnesium on the right. There are 4 hydrogen atoms on either side of the equation. On the left, there are 4 in the water. 2 hydrogens times 2 gives 4 hydrogens. And on the right, we have 2 hydrogens in the hydroxide plus the 2 in the hydrogen gas. And that gives a total of 4 hydrogens on the right. Then finally, on the left, there are 2 oxygen atoms. And on the right, there are also 2 oxygen atoms. As the reaction proceeds, we'll notice the formation of the white precipitate of magnesium hydroxide, and at the end of the reaction, the mixture is filtered and the precipitate collected and dried, giving a white powdery solid sample of magnesium hydroxide. Calcium reacts quickly with water to produce calcium hydroxide precipitate or solid and hydrogen gas. If you look at the looping video to the right of the screen, you will notice that lots of colorless bubbles of hydrogen gas are being given off. Also, the reaction mixture begins to look white or cloudy as the precipitate of calcium hydroxide is formed. For the chemical equation, we have calcium Ca in the solid state reacting with water H2O in the liquid state to produce calcium hydroxide precipitate CaOH2 and hydrogen H2. The chemical equation is balanced by putting the number 2 in front of the formula for water. Therefore, we now have equal numbers of each atom on either side of the equation. We have 1 calcium on the left, we have 1 calcium on the right. There are 4 hydrogens on either side of the equation. On the left, we have 2 hydrogens times 2, that gives a total of 4 hydrogens on the left. And we also have on the right 2 hydrogens from the hydroxide plus 2 hydrogen atoms in hydrogen gas. That also gives a total of 4 hydrogen atoms. Then we have 2 oxygen atoms on the left and 2 oxygen atoms on the right. At the end of the reaction, the mixture is filtered and the precipitate is collected and dried, giving a white powdery solid sample of calcium hydroxide. Barium reacts rapidly with water to produce soluble barium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. If you look at the looping video to the right of the screen, you will notice that lots of colorless bubbles of hydrogen gas are given off from the surface of the barium metal. Also, the reaction mixture does not turn white because the barium hydroxide dissolves in the reaction water, forming an aqueous solution. Hence, the state symbol AQ for aqueous solution. Therefore, the chemical equation for this reaction is barium, Ba, in the solid state, reacting with H2O, water in the liquid state, to produce a solution of barium hydroxide, BaOH2, and hydrogen gas. Once again, the chemical equation is balanced by putting 2 in front of the formula of water. Therefore, our equation is balanced with 1 barium on the left, 1 barium on the right, 4 hydrogens on the left, and 4 hydrogens on the right, followed by 2 oxygens on the left and 2 oxygens on the right. To obtain a solid sample of barium hydroxide, the reaction mixture is filtered, concentrated, and cooled to allow for crystallization. Barium hydroxide is a white crystalline solid. Next, we have the reactions of alkaline earth metals. Those are the group 2 metals with oxygen. A reaction involving oxygen is typically called burning or combustion. When a metal reacts with oxygen, the only product is the metal oxide. The product, which is the metal oxide, has a general formula MO, where M is substituted with the symbol of the group 2 metal reacting with the oxygen, and O is for oxygen, which forms the oxide. Recall that reactivity increases down the group 2 metals, therefore the rate of combustion increases down group 2. When metals burn in oxygen, they produce a characteristic colorful flame. Magnesium burns with a brilliant white flame, as we can see in the video. So when magnesium burns in oxygen, the product is magnesium oxide. The chemical equation for this reaction is Mg for magnesium, which is in the solid state, reacting with oxygen, O2, which is a gas, to form the product MgO, which is solid. Note that 2 is placed in front of the magnesium as well as the magnesium oxide in order to balance the equation. So we now have 2 magnesium atoms on the left as well as on the right, and we have 2 oxygens on the left as well as on the right of the equation. Magnesium oxide is a white solid, as we can see in our video. Reaction of calcium with oxygen. Calcium burns with a brick red flame. Slowly at first, then it bursts into a brilliant white flame with a tinge of red. Calcium reacts with oxygen to produce the solid calcium oxide. Chemical equation, calcium Ca plus oxygen to produce CaO, calcium oxide in the solid state. Note that a 2 is placed in front of the calcium and the calcium oxide in order to balance the equation. Calcium oxide is a white solid. Barium burns with a pale green flame, slowly at first, and then it bursts violently into a white flame, as we can see in our loop-in video. Barium plus oxygen produces barium oxide as the only product. The chemical equation for this reaction, barium, Ba, in a solid state reacts with oxygen, O2, in the gaseous state to produce barium oxide, BaO, in the solid state. Barium oxide is a white solid. We will now examine the reactions of the alkaline earth metals, namely magnesium, calcium, and barium, with hydrochloric acid. When a group 2 metal reacts with hydrochloric acid, the products formed are the corresponding salt and hydrogen gas. Note that the chemical formula for hydrochloric acid is HCl. Hydrochloric acid forms salts which are called chlorides. So the salt of the reaction would be the metal chloride, denoted MCl2, where M represents the symbol of the group 2 metal that has reacted with the hydrochloric acid, and Cl represents chlorine, which forms the chloride salt. Note that 2 chlorine atoms bond with a group 2 metal to form the salt. Once again, hydrogen is a gas and it has the chemical formula H2. Recall that reactivity increases down the group 2 elements or the group 2 metals. Therefore, the rate of reaction between the group 2 metals and hydrochloric acid increases down the group. The reaction between magnesium and dilute hydrochloric acid is shown in the looping video to the right of the screen. Magnesium reacts steadily with hydrochloric acid to produce a colorless solution of magnesium chloride, which is a salt, and hydrogen gas. Magnesium chloride is a soluble salt, therefore it dissolves in the water within the reaction mixture to form the aqueous solution, hence the state symbol AQ for aqueous. Even though colorless, we know that hydrogen gas is given off because of the many bubbles of colorless gas that are evolved from the reaction mixture. Now, if the reaction mixture is filtered, the solution concentrated, and then allow for crystallization, we will obtain a white crystalline sample of magnesium chloride as shown in the photograph. Therefore, magnesium chloride is a white crystalline solid. Note that the number 2 is put in front of the formula for HCl to balance or make equal a number of atoms on either side of the chemical equation. So we have 1 magnesium on either side. We now have 2 hydrogens on either side of the equation, and we also have 2 chlorine atoms on either side of the equation. The reaction between calcium metal and hydrochloric acid is rapid, as shown in the looping video to the right of the screen. The products of the reaction are the colorless solution of calcium chloride and hydrogen, which is a colorless gas. Calcium chloride is a soluble salt, therefore it dissolves in the water within the reaction mixture to form the aqueous solution, hence the state symbol AQ for aqueous. We know that hydrogen is given off because of the many bubbles of colorless gas that are evolved from the reaction mixture. We can obtain a solid sample of the salt, calcium chloride, if the reaction mixture is filtered, concentrated, and then crystallized to give white crystals of calcium chloride as shown in the photograph. So we see that calcium chloride is a white crystalline solid. Once again, the chemical equation is balanced by putting the number 2 in front of HCl. Remember to review the lesson on balancing chemical equations for more details. Barium reacts vigorously with dilute hydrochloric acid to produce a colorless solution of barium chloride, which is a salt, and hydrogen, which is a colorless gas. When the solution of barium chloride is filtered, concentrated, and allowed to crystallize, we obtain fine white crystals of barium chloride salt. The lesson summary points include: Group 2 metals react with water to form the metal hydroxide and hydrogen. Group 2 metals react with oxygen to form the metal oxide. Group 2 metals react with hydrochloric acid to produce the metal chloride, which is a salt, and hydrogen gas. It's quiz time, and you have 5 seconds to answer each question after it is read aloud. Question 1. Which group 2 metal reacts rapidly with water? A. Strontium, B. Magnesium, C. Calcium, D. Barium. The answer is D. Barium reacts rapidly with water. Question 2. Which group 2 metal burns with a characteristic brilliant white flame? A. Beryllium, B. Magnesium, C. Calcium, D. Strontium. The answer is B. Magnesium. Question 3. Identify the products for the reaction between magnesium and water. A. Magnesium chloride and hydrogen gas. B. Magnesium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. C. Magnesium oxide and water. D. Magnesium oxide. The answer is B. When magnesium reacts with water, the products are magnesium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Question 4. What products are formed when barium reacts with hydrochloric acid? A. Barium hydroxide and hydrogen. B. Barium oxide. C. Barium chloride and hydrogen. D. Barium chloride and water. The answer is C. When barium reacts with hydrochloric acid, we produce a salt which is called barium chloride, and of course hydrogen is evolved or given off. Question 5. Identify the option that accurately states the flame color for the following 3 group 2 elements when burned in air. The 3 group 2 elements are magnesium, calcium, and barium, and the colors of the flame for each option will be given in the same order. A. Pale green, brilliant white, red. B. Red, pale green, brilliant white. C. Brilliant white, pale green, red. D. Brilliant white, red, pale green. The answer is D. Magnesium burns with a brilliant white flame, while calcium burns with a red flame, and barium burns with a pale green flame. We have reached the end of our lesson. If you found this video helpful, remember to like, share, and subscribe. When you subscribe, you will receive notifications as new videos are uploaded. So until next time, I am Teacher with Iri-e-learning.